Meet Alex and Jordan. Same neighborhood, same school, same first job, $45,000 a year right out of college. By age 45, Alex is worth $1.2 million. Jordan is still living paycheck to paycheck. Same starting point, completely different outcomes. What made the difference? It wasn't luck. It wasn't skill. It was the way their brains were wired around money. And in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how. Before we get into the rich brain versus poor brain breakdown, I need to make something clear. This isn't about rich people being smarter. It's not about working harder. And it's definitely not about being born into the right family. What we're talking about is a psychological operating system, a set of mental programs running in the background, shaping every financial decision you make every day without you realizing it. Psychologists call it your money script. Behavioral economists call it financial cognitive bias. We're just going to call it what it is, the way your brain thinks about money. And here's the thing, most people never examine it. They just run on autopilot. And autopilot, for most Americans, leads straight to financial mediocrity. So in this video, we're going to break down 4 core differences between a rich brain and a poor brain. And at the end, I'm going to show you exactly how to start rewiring yours, starting today. Let's get into it. The first and biggest difference between a rich brain and a poor brain is how they see time. Here's what I mean. Ask someone with a poor money mindset what they think about when they look at their paycheck. Most of the time, the answer is, right now, this weekend, this month. What can I do with this money today? Psychologists call this present bias. Your brain is literally wired to overvalue the present and undervalue the future. It's not a character flaw, it's evolution. For most of human history, thinking about next week didn't matter if you didn't survive today. But here's the problem. We don't live in that world anymore. A poor brain hears $400 a month invested for 30 years, and it doesn't feel real. That's too far away, too abstract. So it spends the $400 instead. A rich brain hears $400 a month for 30 years, and it sees $500,000. Not someday, not eventually. It literally visualizes the future account balance as if it's already there. This one difference in time perception explains why 2 people with identical salaries can have completely different net worths by the time they're 50. Let me give you a real number. If the average American, making $56,000 a year, invested just 7% of their income from age 25 to 55, they'd retire with over $600,000. 7%. That's $73 a week. The cost of 2 restaurant meals. The money isn't the problem. The time horizon is. Asterisk. The second difference, and this one surprises people, is how the rich brain and poor brain process risk. Most people think rich people are big, risk takers, bold, fearless, roll the dice and win. But the data tells a completely different story. Rich brains are actually obsessed with understanding risk before they take it. They break it down. They calculate what they stand to lose. They ask, what's the worst-case scenario, and can I survive it? If the answer is yes, they move forward. Poor brains do the opposite, in both directions. They take huge risks they don't understand, lottery tickets, get-rich-quick investments, impulse bets, and they avoid smart, calculated risks, index funds, starting a business, buying property because they feel scary. There's a term for this in behavioral economics. Loss aversion. Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman proved that the pain of losing $100 feels twice as powerful as the joy of gaining $100. We're all wired this way, but a rich brain knows this about itself and accounts for it. Here's the practical difference. When a poor brain sees the stock market drop 10%, it panics and sells. A rich brain sees a 10% discount and buys. Same event, completely opposite reactions, completely opposite outcomes. The poor brain loses money fleeing a risk. The rich brain makes money running toward a calculated opportunity. Asterisk. Now, here's where most people think the video is over. We talked about time, we talked about risk. But the next 2 differences? They're the ones nobody talks about. And honestly, they might be the most important ones of all. The third difference, and this is a big one, is how the rich brain and poor brain see their own income. For a poor brain, income is an endpoint. The paycheck arrives, and the brain immediately sorts it into spending categories. Rent, food, car, Netflix, whatever's left. We'll figure it out. This is called lifestyle inflation. As income grows, spending grows with it. You make more, you spend more. The gap between what you earn and what you keep stays exactly the same. A rich brain sees income completely differently. Income is a raw material, not a destination. It's an input. The question isn't, what do I spend this on? It's, how do I deploy this to create more? Warren Buffett, the greatest investor in history, still lives in the same house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. He's worth $130 billion. His brain literally does not connect more income to more lifestyle. Now you don't have to live like Warren Buffett. But the principle matters. Every dollar you earn is either working for you or working for someone else. Poor brains send their money to landlords, banks, and retailers. Rich brains put their money to work first, then spend what's left. The simple mental shift: before you pay anyone else, pay yourself first. Automate your savings before your paycheck ever hits your checking account. Make wealth building the default, not the goal. The fourth difference, and this is the one most financial channels completely ignore, is internal language. The sentences you say to yourself about money. Every single day, a poor brain runs on phrases like, "I'm just not good with money. Rich people are just lucky. Money doesn't grow on trees. I could never afford that." These aren't just thoughts, they're programs. And every time you repeat them, your brain wires itself to make them true. Psychologists call these money scripts, and research from financial therapist Brad Klontz shows they're passed down through generations. You inherited your relationship with money from the people who raised you. And unless you consciously examine those scripts, you keep running them on autopilot. A rich brain runs different scripts. How do I make this work? What would I need to learn to afford this? Money is a tool, and I can learn to use it better. Notice the difference. Poor brain scripts are closed. Final. Rich brain scripts are open questions. They direct the brain to find solutions instead of accepting limits. Here's a simple exercise. The next time you catch yourself saying, "I can't afford that," replace it with, "How could I afford that?" You don't have to know the answer. Just ask the question. Your brain will start working on it. This sounds almost too simple, but neuroscience backs it. The questions you ask yourself activate different neural pathways. Closed statements shut down problem solving. Open questions activate it. This is not motivation talk. This is how your brain literally functions. Asterisk. So let's bring it all together. The difference between a rich brain and a poor brain isn't intelligence. It isn't privilege. It isn't even income. It's four mental habits, practiced consistently over time. 1. Thinking long-term, even when the present feels urgent. 2. Understanding risk instead of fearing it or ignoring it. 3. Treating income as a raw material, not a reward. 4. Asking better questions instead of accepting limiting beliefs. None of this requires a finance degree. None of it requires you to be born wealthy. It requires awareness, and then practice. The fact that you're watching a video like this tells me something. Your brain is already working differently than 90% of people who will never ask these questions. That's where it starts. If this video gave you something to think about, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel get in front of people who need to hear this. And subscribe, because every week, we're going deeper into the psychology of money, wealth, and why most people stay stuck. I'll see you in the next one.